You are not failing because you are lazy. You are failing because part of you wants to. Everyone has goals. Lose weight, build something, make more money, finally change. And most people start. They buy the book, download the app, make the plan, then they stop. Not because life got hard, not because they ran out of time. They stop right before it starts working, every single time. And the story they tell themselves is always the same. I got busy, I got tired. The timing was wrong. But here is what no one wants to say out loud. The timing is always wrong when you need it to be. You created the excuse. Not because you are weak, because your brain did exactly what it was designed to do. It protected you. From what? That is the question nobody asks. Self-sabotage is not a character flaw. It is a protection system. Your brain does not care about your goals. It cares about your survival. And to your brain, survival means staying in familiar territory. This is not a metaphor. This is neuroscience. Your nervous system builds a baseline, a set point for what feels normal, for how much success, love, money, and peace you are allowed to have. Anything above that set point feels dangerous. Not exciting. Dangerous. So when you start making real progress, your brain fires an alarm. Not a loud one, a quiet one. Suddenly you feel tired. Suddenly you feel like the goal does not matter that much. Suddenly something more urgent appears. You do not hear the alarm. You just feel its effects, and you call it procrastination, or burnout, or bad luck. But it is not any of those things. It is your identity doing its job. Here is the core of it. You will never consistently outperform your self-image. Not your talent, not your intelligence, not your work ethic, your self-image. The internal picture you hold of who you are. If that picture says you are someone who struggles with money, you will sabotage income. If that picture says you are someone relationships abandon, you will destroy the good ones. If that picture says you are not the type who finishes things, you will stop. Every time. Because the brain does not tolerate contradiction for long. You can push through for a week, a month, maybe longer. But eventually, the identity wins. This is why discipline alone does not work. You can be disciplined and still fail. Because discipline is a behavior. Identity is a belief. And beliefs always beat behaviors over time. Now here is where it gets more uncomfortable. Most of your self-image was built before you were 12 years old. Before you had the cognitive ability to question it. You heard things about yourself. You experienced things. You watched how the adults around you handled success, failure, money, and love. And your brain absorbed all of it as truth, not as an opinion, as a fact. So when you try to succeed as an adult, you are not just taking action. You are fighting a belief system that has been reinforced for decades. And you do not even know it is there. You just feel resistance. You label it laziness. You hate yourself for it. And then the self-hate confirms the belief. The cycle completes itself. There is another layer. Some people sabotage not because they fear failure, but because they fear success. This sounds absurd, but it is extremely common. Success comes with consequences your brain has already predicted. If I become successful, people will expect more from me. If I lose the weight, people will see me differently, and I do not know how to handle that. If I make real money, people around me will change, or leave, or want something from me. Your brain runs this simulation automatically, without your permission, and the conclusion it reaches is, stay small, stay safe. The goal dies not because you lack willpower. It dies because on some level, achieving it terrifies you more than failing at it. Think about that. Failure is familiar. You know how to survive failure. You have done it before. Success is unknown, and the unknown triggers threat responses in the human brain. Evolution did not build you to chase potential. It built you to avoid threats. You are running ancient software in a modern world, and nobody taught you how to update it. There is also the role of deserving. Not what you want, what you believe you deserve. These are not the same thing. You can want something desperately and believe at a deeper level that you do not deserve it. Most people carry invisible ceilings. They do not see them. But every time they get close to breaking through, the ceiling stops them. And the ceiling is almost always built from old shame. Things you were told, things that happened, comparisons that were made. The child who was told they were not smart enough eventually becomes the adult who unconsciously proves it, not because it was ever true, because the brain accepted it as identity, and identity drives behavior, even behavior you hate, even behavior that destroys what you love. Here is how this actually plays out in real behavior. You set a goal, you feel motivated. The motivation is real, but it is chemical. Dopamine fires when you imagine the outcome, not when you do the work, so the imagining feels good. The doing feels flat. Then obstacles appear, not because the universe is against you, because obstacles are literally part of every meaningful process. But to a brain that has been conditioned to interpret difficulty as a sign to stop, the first real obstacle triggers the exit response. The exit looks different for everyone. For some people, it is distraction. Social media, entertainment, anything that moves the body away from the discomfort. For some people, it is overthinking. Suddenly, there are 100 reasons why the plan needs to be revised. The research loop begins. The action stops. For some people, it is self-destruction. They drink more, sleep less, start a fight with someone close to them. They create external chaos that gives them permission to pause the goal. None of this looks like self-sabotage from the inside. From the inside, it just looks like life getting in the way. But from the outside, the pattern is obvious. Every time progress builds, something interrupts it. Every time the interruption is examined closely, the source is internal. Stop and think about your own life for a moment, not in general. Specifically, what is the one thing you have been trying to build or change for more than a year and have not finished? Now ask yourself honestly, was there ever a real moment when success was close? And what happened right before you stopped? You will likely find that the stopping point was not an external wall. It was an internal one, a feeling of unworthiness you could not name, a fear of what came next that you refused to acknowledge, a belief so old you forgot it was a belief and not a fact. The version of you that keeps failing is not broken. That version of you is doing exactly what it learned to do to stay safe. That is not an excuse. That is a starting point, because you cannot fight something you refuse to see. Most people spend their entire lives pushing harder against the symptoms. More discipline, more productivity systems, more morning routines, and nothing changes at the root. Because the root is not behavior, the root is identity. And identity only changes through honest confrontation, not positive affirmations, not visualization, honest confrontation. Looking directly at the belief and asking where it came from, asking whether it is actually true, asking whose voice it is in your head when you tell yourself you cannot do it. Because 9 times out of 10, it is not your voice. It is a borrowed one, from someone who is also limited, from someone who passed their ceiling down to you without realizing it. You accepted it because you were young and you trusted them. But you are not young anymore, and you do not have to keep accepting it. Here is the critical part. Understanding this intellectually does nothing on its own. You can watch this video, feel the recognition, say yes, that is me, and then go back to the same patterns within 24 hours. Because insight without action is just more information. And your brain is already full of information that has not changed your behavior. What actually changes identity is repeated experience that contradicts the old belief. Small, consistent, repeated proof that you are someone who does the thing. Not motivation, proof. Every time you do what you said you were going to do, even when it is small, even when no one sees it, you cast a vote for a new identity. Every time you stop, you cast a vote for the old one. The new identity does not appear overnight. It accumulates, vote by vote. But it only starts when you stop lying to yourself about why you keep stopping. The answer is not that life is hard. Life has always been hard. The answer is that somewhere inside you, there is a part that believes hard things are not meant for you. And until that belief is challenged at its source, no system, no habit, no amount of willpower will be enough. The most dangerous lie you will ever believe is that you are failing because of something outside of you.